go somewhere there. Even though it's dead simple once, so even I can understand.
Simple enough. What do we need to send you? Just can't really.
Sorry?
I haven't got any questions at all.
Good evening, fellow councillors and public. Let's go through a few housekeeping before we do start. So good evening, welcome to the meeting of Melton Borough Council. We're going to start with the evacuation procedure. In the event of having to evacuate the council chamber, please leave by one of the 6 emergency exits around the sides of the chamber. Please assemble at the far side of the front car park nearest to the park entrance. Officers will be on hand to assist persons who require any assistance. Public recording of the meeting. There is legislation that allows the public to film, record, or use social media at a council meeting. This must not be disruptive to the good order of the meeting, nor include any filming or recording of the public seating area. Please switch mobile phones to silent. Microphones. Councillors and officers are reminded to use their microphones when speaking for the benefit of all present. Electronic voting. Tonight we will be using the electronic voting system. This means that votes will be carried out via the microphone headsets or handsets when voting is taking place. You'll be given 3 options: yes, abstain and no. And there will be 3 buttons flashing beneath the options. When the voting is open, please select the corresponding button in order to register your vote. I'm now going to hand over to Reverend Dr. Mary Barr to offer prayers.
Thank you. I think we must all be concerned about the news that's coming from around the world, and obviously things in our own society that concern us and in our own community. So I thought this evening I'm going to use words of a prayer that's attributed to St. Francis of Assisi. Probably wasn't actually him, but it's a prayer that reminds us that we're all called to be peacemakers and peacemakers. And I use this prayer for your meeting this evening. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. And this we ask for your love's sake. Amen. Amen.
Thank you very much. Goodbye. Right, we'll go straight on to the meeting. Apologies for absence. Apologies for absence have been received from councillors Adcock, Ian Atherton, Siggy Atherton, Carter, Child, Evans, Freer, Glancy, Orson, Pritchett, Simon Orson, Pritchett and Thwaites. Is there anybody else who's been missed off the list who needs to give apologies? No. So we have 11 apologies and 17 present. So we are quorum, so we can proceed with the meeting. We're going to move straight on to the minutes. To confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on the 25th of July and the minutes put together at the extraordinary council meeting held on the 5th of September 2024. I propose the minutes are moved. Do we have a proposer? Councillor Ornett. Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Butcher, Butcher, thank you. Do any members have any comments to make in relation to the accuracy of the meetings? No. We'll now proceed to the vote. Please use the electronic voting system in front of you and choose either for, against, or abstain. That's carried. The outcome is carried. I think there's 16 votes for and 1 abstention. I think. Was you here? No, it wasn't here. I can confirm the minutes are approved. Declaration of interest. If any members would like to indicate that they have an interest to declare, could they please do so by raising their hand? Councillor Orson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I declare a personal, pecuniary and disclosable interest in item 10, local plan regulation 19 consultation, and will leave the chamber when I do come to it.
Thank you, Councillor Orson. Councillor Ronan-Brown.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, yeah, I will declare a personal interest in the motion number 8 and I will leave the room.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Any other councillor got a declaration of interest they want to bring forward? No? As other registrable interest in respect of Councillor Joe Orson is taken as being on record for any matters which relate to the Leicestershire County Council. We'll move swiftly on now to the Mayor's announcements. As of like last meeting, I've got a bit of a list up here on the screen behind me in a minute when the IT team gets together. Been very busy over July, August and a bit into September. There's a lot of things to go to. This is what I've done over the period. I'll just talk you through a few of the items. I'm not going to bore you and go through the whole list, but this is one close to my heart, is the reopening of the refurbishment of the Crown at Old Dalby. You can see that was a very nice event. Yeah, the food is lovely there. I've been back there since, actually, so it's very good. We'll move on to, went down to the Tug of War, officially opened the Tug of War in the Play Close in the town's parks. And this is, oh, gone too far. We can go back to the Tug of War. Is it on loop? Well, this one, they're called Lincoln team, but they're actually all from Melton Mowbray, most of them. Tim Lee there from Scorford, the manager and trainer, and they won the event hands down. I think they did very well in Germany last week also, and I think they're going to the World Championships in China end of this year, I believe. So that's very good. On the next slide, oh yes. Caption competition there. Who can lift the heavier weight? No. Yes, I can say a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, we'll go on for that. We opened the Waterfield gym facilities, and then onto the soft play area at the Sports Village, along with I think Richard Kilty, the Great Britain 4x100 meter relay sprinter who got a bronze medal from the Paris Olympics. He was a lovely chap, very good. And the facilities are marvellous. If you haven't tried them down at the Leisure Centre, please go down. State of the art, beautiful. And I'm on to the next one, which is my quiz night. The first quiz night. I'm having 3 this year. The first of 3, we raised just about £900 on the evening for my two charities. So thank you very much for who attended that. Some of the councillors here did attend, and I look forward to seeing you to the next one. And oh dear, I didn't read the small print on this one when I accepted it. It was opening the Great Vale show at Hose, and after I accepted it, I saw the small print on a hovercraft. So I actually went around the field on a hovercraft. I think Councillor Hewson was there laughing away. Yes, I had to judge the puppy show. Unfortunately, I couldn't give Councillor Hewson a prize. I didn't have a declaration of interest. So sorry about that, Councillor Hewson. Moving swiftly on, please. Oh yes, long service award here at Marlborough Council, 40 years. And that was a lovely I know a lady from school, my age at school, and well deserved. 40 years in one job is quite remarkable, and she justly deserves that certificate and a lot more, I think. And Air Cadets, yes. Now we've got an item coming up in a minute. I had to go up to their base and interview some potential Mayor's Cadets. We've made a choice, and that will be done in a few minutes. But I'd like to thank obviously Cadet Flight Sergeant Ella Wheatley for the 6 months she's been with me. I know she had 6 months with Alan as well. She's very capable cadet, and I think she got a presentation in a few minutes. So we'll go on from there. I think we're about there. Is it any more? Oh, just a few civic reception I went to. You meet a lot of interesting people at these events, and I think the Blaby one, I think Councillor Awesome was there in another capacity. To see you dancing away all night. Right, move on, please. Oh yeah, and this is the last one. I think this is a poignant one as well. I think we've got a motion later on from Councillor Higgins. The fourth paras. Obviously, you know more. I shan't spoil. Take your thunder. But they were based at Saltby Airdrome, and they started one of the cycle rides from here. Did 77 miles on this day. This was yesterday. Yesterday, I think. Yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah. Me and Pip saw them off and do a remarkable job for the 80th anniversary of the Arnhem and the Operation Market Garden. Thank you. I'm going to now ask my outgoing cadet, Cadet Flight Sergeant Ella Wheatley to come forward. I think she's got a nice presentation for you all, what she's done in her time for the past year. Thank you very much.
So this is going to be a presentation on my time as the Mayor's Cadet. So to start off with, we're going to look at some of my Mayor's Cadet events in which I supported our previous mayor at the Remembrance Day wreath laying. Then we were at the Christmas Carol service in which I did a reading towards the church. And then most recently the Battle of Britain Parade, in which I did the wreath laying there as well. There is just a photo there at the bottom of the new Mayor's Cadet and myself and the mayor. Also, while I have been Mayor's Cadet, I have attended different courses within cadets. So I've been on my drill training course where I've been trained to become a drill instructor. I also went to Belgium on a camp in which we went to look around the battlefields. So we got a coach from Corby all the way to Belgium. And then on the way back, we stopped in France to look at some of the French battlefields as well. In that time, we also did a parade through the Menengate in Belgium. Also, with cadets, we have this thing called Wing Field Day, in which lots of squadrons come together and compete in different categories. So there's a few photos on there from our Wing Field Day, from when we were doing our drill competition. And also on that day, we did win the Community Award. In addition, most recently, I have been on an annual camp at RS at Morgan down near Newquay in Cornwall, in which we did lots of different exercises. We did rock climbing, we also did paddleboarding, we did lots of different leadership activities. We also at the top there met with the RAF regiment on base. And then there's a photo just in the middle there from when we did our final parade on the camp. In addition, outside of cadets, I've done lots of different things where I've learnt to ski. I've completed my A-levels. I also play football. I've done a lot of traveling. I've recently been around the Mediterranean. I've also been to Paris as well over the summer. I also have done some surfing and attended lots of different concerts as well. So overall, my time as Mayor's Cadet has been packed. I've learned a lot of stuff in cadets and I've really enjoyed being with both of you.
Thank you, Ella. As a recognition of your time as being the Mayor's Cadet, I've got a certificate to present to you. I'd now like to call down Charlotte, Cadet Sergeant Charlotte Spencer, my new cadet for the year. Also got a certificate for Charlotte. Thank you to my air cadets and all the families present. You don't have to stay for the whole evening if you don't want to, but if you want to stay, by all means, stay there. Mad exit. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Right, let's clear the gallery. I'm sorry, Councillor Ornett, they wouldn't want to stay for your opening remarks. Right, so item 5, I invite Councillor Ornett to provide his announcements. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I first thank you for permitting me to speak from a sitting position because I am still recovering from an emergency stay in hospital last week after a particularly interesting cabinet meeting. May I say, Mr. Mayor, you did mention that the tug of war team won hands down. Now, did that mean they let go of the rope? I don't know. Anyway, obviously, I was unable to attend the Battle of Britain service on Sunday because I was just come out of hospital. I'm sorry I couldn't join you on that day. I just want to give a few announcements. I have one special thanks, and that's to members. The fact that members will have seen the excellent performance of our staff in reducing rent arrears from 9.14% to 5.9%. The current performance shows continued focus and determination to address arrears proactively, but at the same time work with tenants to find realistic and affordable solutions in a sensitive and caring way. Members will wish to know that today I attended the Strategic Growth Plan Members Advisory Group attended by councils from across Leicestershire, and I wish to report that there continues to be a collaborative and constructive working with a determination to seek solutions across the party political divide, and it was a very refreshing occasion today. Members will have seen that the County Council is reporting delay and cost escalation with respect to the northeast section of the MMDR. I wish to assure everyone that this council, while not being directly involved, will support the County Council in any way that we are able to do. I also wish to assure everyone that we are continuing to work with all partners to secure the implementation of the southern section of the MMDR, and I wish to place on record my thanks to our staff and those of our partners for their relentless efforts on our behalf. It's a tough one, this, but we are working hard on it, and that completes my announcements on this occasion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ornett. Public question time. We have no questions from the public. They haven't been received, so move swiftly on. Now, item 7, and we've also got 7 questions on this. 7 questions from members have been received, and they'll be taken in order from which they were received. Please be aware that under Chapter 3, Part 1, Procedural Rule 13.7 of the Constitution, a total of 20 minutes is permitted for this item. if we approach this time limit before 7 questions below have been answered, it is my intention to propose a motion to suspend the aforementioned standing order such that we can continue with this item until all questions have been answered. Should this be necessary and at the appropriate time, I will seek a seconder for the motion and then move to vote. I would like to invite Councillor Lumley to ask the first question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hope you're keeping well, and I'm pleased to hear that the council leaders a bit better from last Friday as well. Wish you all the best. Question number 1, Mr. Mayor. Can emergency funds be transferred to the corporate property team for this current financial year, 2024-25, to carry out essential maintenance works this winter on the NBC-owned car park in Mill Street? Quite a stretch of footpath in the country park behind Redwood Avenue, town area allotments and key routeways around Thorpe Road Cemetery, to name a few. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lumley. I will now invite Leader Councillor Orner to provide a response.
Mr. Mayor, may I thank Councillor Lumley for the question. It is essentially in 2 parts. Firstly, to draw down emergency funds, and second, to allocate that money to 4 specific tasks and 1 open-ended area of expenditure. For the avoidance of doubt, this council does not maintain emergency funds per se. I understand this has been the case for some years due to financial constraints. We do, of course, maintain reserves. I have summarised the regulations and procedure for drawing on reserves in year on a separate note and circulated it this evening, and I'll be happy to take questions on that on another occasion. I summarise Councillor Lumley's 4 specific tasks as car park, footpath, cemetery and allotments. Now, I do agree that these have been relatively neglected for some years. For the first 3, I suggest that I, Councillor Lumley and Councillor Glancy, who is his councillor for the ward, look at these on her return. For allotments across Melton, I have already mentioned that my resolve to build on the work of our colleague Councillor Cox with the splendid assistance from the Mountain Lions to improve the situation. This will be done between Michaelmas and Lady Day next spring. Councillor Lumley refers to his 4 tasks as to name a few. This implies that he thinks there are many more. He may be correct, and so we must work for the many, not the few, to coin a phrase. For the current financial year, budgets have been allocated and for asset improvements have been prioritised, including taking account of health and safety and risk. Now, if Councillor Lumley and Glancy can provide me with a list of the specific requests, in particular with regard to health and safety, I will arrange for them to be assessed against the prioritisation criteria that is currently in place. Should there be immediate risks of health and safety requirements, officers will advise on any in-year budgetary needs. We can also assess the need and timing of other improvements for consideration as part of the future budget setting arrangements. Pride in place matters to this administration, but we also need to manage our resources carefully, and work is ongoing to evaluate how best to allocate resources to enhance our green and open spaces. This must be done in a planned way and included within budget and service plans, and I would prefer not to do it on the basis of an emergency. Thank you.
Councillor Orner. Councillor Lumley, if you wish, you may also put 1 supplementary question in accordance with the procedure rules. May I remind you that your supplementary question must arise directly out of the original question or the reply. Councillor Lumley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm happy with that response. Very grateful of that. Very, very detailed. And I haven't got any supplementary questions to that one, so I can proceed to number 2 if you'd like.
Councillor Lumley, yeah, straight on to question 2. It's also from yourself. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question 2. Can the council leader and senior NBC officers urgently meet with senior East Midlands regional officers of the Environment Agency to discuss the poor maintenance and improvement plan of the water courses all around the town area, plus flooding management for this winter and thereafter of the courses across the borough. Thank you.
Councillor Lumley. Now invite the leader, Councillor Ulnett, to provide a response.
Mr. Mayor, I thank Councillor Lumley for his question. I think all members are aware that the whole issue of flooding occupies a significant amount of my time and our strategic thinking. The issue is multi-layered. Details include drainage of surface water, management of sewage, fluvial flows, water retention on land, the water table below it, and clean water management for life and work at times of drought, and of course water contamination. Most of these areas require long-term planning and significant investment. Responsibilities lie across several agencies. The Environment Agency is just one. Yesterday, I had a short meeting with their regional senior flood risk manager and their assets performance team leader. I took the opportunity to add Councillor Lumley's specific points to my agenda. I raised a wide range of strategic and practical issues of interest to all ward members, including those sitting on the planning committee. The whole discussion was constructive. We agreed further discussion, more information, meetings with members and site visits as appropriate. Our senior planning officer and lead on matters flooding was unable to join me because of course she was engaged on the planning appeal inquiry and was even so today, I believe. I hope that indicates that I'm addressing your concerns seriously and all members will have a chance to be better informed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ulnett. Councillor Lumley, if you wish to, you may also put one supplementary question in accordance with the procedure rules. May I remind you that the supplementary question must arise directly out of the original question or the reply.
I'm very happy with that response from the council leader. Very, very grateful, very, very detailed, and no, I haven't got any more a supplementary question. Thank you.
I'm now going on to the third question. I'd like to invite Councillor Butcher to ask the third question. Councillor Butcher.
Thank you. Can I ask the leader to please lobby for a fairer business rate system? We cannot control the rents, but we can lobby for a fairer business rate system. The Labour government mentioned this in their manifesto, business-wise especially, as we have a lot of independents and it is vital to the survival for their business in the town and the borough. With a smoking ban being talked about again, this will have a big hit on hospitality, and the need for more sensible business rates will make the difference between survival and closure. As Melton is the rural capital of food and drink, this will have a big effect.
Councillor Butcher. And I invite Councillor Leader, Councillor Ulnett, to provide a response.
Mr. Mayor, may I thank Councillor Butcher for her question. I'm, of course, always very willing to lobby and often do any government on any issue relevant to our local or wider community. But of course, the art of lobbying is to have a well thought out proposal. A good place to start is the various existing rate relief schemes in place, which may benefit independent businesses. The most relevant are retail, hospitality and leisure rate relief, which provides eligible businesses 75% relief for the current year, up to a maximum of £110,000 cash cap limit per business. This benefits particularly smaller businesses by a greater degree. Small business rates relief of 100% for eligible businesses with a rateable value of £12,000 or less. For businesses with a rateable value of between £12,001 and £15,000, the rate of relief will go down gradually from the maximum to zero. With limits for businesses with more than one property, again, this benefits the smaller independent businesses more. There is a rural rate relief of 100% for eligible businesses operating as the only shop, petrol station, public house or post office in any eligible rural area. It is indeed widely acknowledged in the sector that the business rate system is due an overhaul and has been really for a number of years. But this is a complex task. The Council will continue to highlight the issues arising from the funding of local councils generally, including the business rate system, which is an intrinsic part of this whole scheme. Mr. Mayor, members may be unaware that I have in fact stood twice as a parliamentary candidate, and in that process I advocated substantial fiscal reform because it's something of a speciality of mine. And this included total abolition of business rates juxtaposed with substantial increases in minimum wages and basic pensions. This was at a time when the Conservative Party had just voted against the creation of the minimum wage, claiming it was immoral. So yes, let's lobby. I'm all for it, and I will certainly do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ornett. Councillor Butcher, if you wish, you may also put one supplementary question in accordance with the procedure rules. May I remind you that the supplementary question must arise directly out of the original question or the reply. Councillor Butcher.
Thank you, Leader. With the will the Leader please continue to lobby as well for the manifesto of his Leader to open up the competition law to the public contracts, giving smaller businesses a chance?
Thank you, Councillor Butcher.
Well,
Councillor Ornett.
I'm very willing to admit that I didn't read my party's manifesto, as they claim my heart and soul without it. But I will read it, and I'll get back to and consult with my Labour colleagues in this council, because I have to agree with them as well, of course.
Thank you, Councillor Ornett. I'd like to invite Councillor Joe Orson for the fourth question, please. Councillor Joe Orson.
Sorry about that, Mr. Mayor. Can I remind the council it's around 10 months since Melton residents were informed by way of an NBC press release that following positive work with health partners at the ICB, it is clear that there is a compelling opportunity to explore the delivery of the Melton Mowbray second GP surgery by utilising existing space within the Council Parkside offices. Whilst it is still subject to a full viability assessment, this is our preferred option, and we are now working closely with the ICB colleagues to fully assess the costs and implications associated with it. Can the Leader now confirm work will start to convert Parkside to a doctor's surgery before April 2026?
Thank you, Councillor Orson. I'll now invite the Leader, Councillor Ornett, to provide a response.
Mr. Mayor, I thank Councillor Joe Orson for this question, and I know it's on a project for which he has devoted a great deal of effort, and I suspect lost a lot of hair over this one because I know he's passionately in favour of it, and I thank him for that. The preamble to the question is of course accurate, and I draw members' attention in particular to the words "it is still subject to a full viability assessment, and we are working with our ICB colleagues to assess the costs and implications." So the current situation is that work to develop a full costed and designed business case for co-location of the additional GP practice continues alongside our ICB health partners. Before proceeding with any physical development, it is imperative that we have a proposal that meets both the ICB's and our own operational needs, as well as being affordable for all parties. This is a complex piece of work, and we are not yet ready to report on the outcome of that work, but we hope to do so in the coming months. If we establish an affordable and deliverable business case, then it will be presented formally to Cabinet and to the Council for full consideration as is required. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ornett. Councillor Joe Orson, if you wish, you may also put one supplementary question in accordance with the procedure rules. May I remind you that the supplementary question must arise directly out of the original question or the reply. Councillor Orson.
Thank you very much. My question was, can the leader now confirm work will start to convert Parkside to a doctor's surgery before April 2026? Am I right to presume you can't confirm that?
I certainly can't confirm it this evening. As I said in the previous,
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
as I said in the previous statement, we are still waiting the outcome of a lot of hard work before we can make any conclusions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ornett. I'd like to invite Councillor Joe Olson again for the fifth question.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Can the leader please confirm the identity of the specialist engaged by NBC to develop a case for the proposed GP surgery co-located at Parkside and at what cost to the council?
I'll now again invite the leader, Councillor Ornett, to provide a response.
Mr. Mayor, I thank Councillor Joe Olson for his second question. Mountain Council and colleagues from the Local Integrated Care Board, the ICB, have been working together on the options for Parkside. Costs have been shared. That's to say, the cost of this work has been shared with the ICB under a memorandum of understanding, and these are in the region of £33,000 for this council. Any specialist support that's required has been procured through the ICB. I certainly do not know and do not need to know the names of specialists working under these arrangements. These specialists are design architects, quantity surveyors or similar, checking such things as structural loading tolerances, fire safety, lift requirements, electrical and mechanical specifications. They will be looking at the sort of issues raised by Councillor Gordon in her question, which is later on the agenda, and crucially to establish whether the proposition is doable practically and financially. If Councillor Orson insists on knowing their names, we would need to ask the agreement of the ICB and the individuals concerned. I hope that's for obvious reasons. Regarding our own financial contribution to this, this is not new money. It is essentially under the umbrella of the Asset Development Programme, which from memory was agreed in 2020 under Councillor Orson's watch, and is drawn from the £500,000 grant sourced by the LEP, that's the Local Enterprise Programme. This money supports the development and implementation of proposals of all of our assets. Thank you.
Councillor Ornett.
17 minutes.
Okay, just before we have a response there, I'd just like to say, members, we are approaching the time allowed for members' questions. As mentioned at the start of this item, to enable the remaining questions to be answered at tonight's meeting, I propose that Rule 13.7 of the General Procedure Rules should be suspended for the rest of the meeting so that the time limit of 20 minutes can be extended. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ornett. We'll put this to the vote. Or just show of hands if you like. Show of hands. That's unanimous and carried. Yeah, thank you very much. Right, so thank you. Back to the original question. Councillor Joe Olson, if you wish, you may also put one supplementary question in accordance with the procedure rules. May I remind you that the supplementary question must arise directly out of the original question or the reply. Councillor Olson.
Thank you very much. As Councillor Ornett knows and Democracy also know, by the way, I'd just like to add that I have put suggestions forward that will get round this 20-minute rule and smarten up the whole process of questions. And I will have another word with Democracy following this meeting so it can go to the Constitution Task Group to look at. And like I say, because this area does need smartening up, I think most members would agree with that. Back to your answer, Councillor Ornett, and thank you for the answer as well. I did note, by the way, in that you did say, and crucially, to establish whether the proposition is doable practically and financially. So again, we have doubt whether the second doctor's surgery will be moving to Parkside. The next thing you said was, if Councillor Orson insists on knowing the names of the companies and individuals concerned, I wouldn't say insist, but what I would say, in the interests of openness, I think it'd be good for everyone to know the individuals and firms, companies who are doing this work. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Olson.
Mr. Mayor, was that a question? I'm not certain. Was that a question?
Was that a question?
It was a comment made on your answer. No question. There's no need to answer, except will you allow those names to come forward in the interest of openness? That is the question.
Well, I will answer that. It's not within my gift to allow it unless they agree to it. Now, if you want to go for a freedom of information, I suppose you could go to them, but it's really up to them to decide whether they want their names to go forward. They are just employees doing measuring a piece of hardware. It's not like a policy thing or a consultant. But I mean, I'm happy to take advice from the monitoring officer in due course. But my understanding is it's not in my gift to give you their names. That's all I'm saying. I don't have any objection, but we would need to take advice from the monitoring officer.
Thank you, Councillor Ornett. I'd like to invite Councillor Brown to ask the 6th question. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I ask the portfolio holder for finance to please confirm for the public record the cost of agency staff incurred by this council in the financial years 2022 to 2023 and then subsequently 2023 to 2024?
I'll now invite the portfolio holder for corporate finance, property and resources, Councillor Cox, to provide a response. Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Brown, for your question. It will be helpful to clarify for members exactly what is meant by the term agency spend, as this can include a range of different things. It currently includes project managers, interim cover for vacancies and temporary grant-funded posts. As per the comprehensive report that was provided to the Scrutiny Committee in July 2022, the Council has a sophisticated and comprehensive approach to managing its resources flexibly and getting the balance right between a strong core team and utilising external skills and capacity to support our busy agenda. To respond specifically to the question, the figures in the agency budget code are for 2022 to 23, £330,008, for 23 to 24, £689,140. In terms of the difference between the years, there were a number of factors that caused such an increase and which demonstrate the justifiable reasons why these costs were incurred. The monitoring officer role was vacant for a long period of time, along with a number of posts in the legal services team, where interim posts were utilised. These have now been recruited to. We were operating a shared senior officer arrangement with Harborough for our waste and environmental services team, which was funded through this budget. Again, this arrangement has now ended. And the environmental services manager is due to start shortly, or has recently started, sorry, it's moved on. A number of vacancies in development control which needed to be covered, but which have now been recruited to. The Welland procurement team had a number of staff leaving at the same time, which needed to be rebuilt. These costs were necessary to ensure the correct knowledge and expertise in these service areas and also recognise the challenges across the sector of recruiting and retaining in a number of our specialist service areas. All costs were managed within the budget envelope, and indeed, taking the budgets for the agency and salaries cost together in 23-24, there was a net underspend of £190,000 for the year after accounting for these costs. So the Council's resources continue to be managed effectively and in the right way. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Councillor Brown, if you wish, you may also put one supplementary question in accordance with the procedure rules. May I remind you that the supplementary question was to rise directly out of the original question or the reply. Councillor Brown.
That's absolutely remarkable. £359,000 increase in agency staff. My subsequent question is that considering the amount of vacancies and the ability to not be able to recruit staff quickly enough, does Councillor Cox feel that this authority is not large enough to continue as a borough council? We may look to some other partnership arrangements, such as Unitary or shared services in order to retain staff of quality that can come in and operate within the council and not go to agency, which is more expensive for the public purse? And can she also confirm that 24-25 budget that agency staff costs will be reducing?
Councillor Cox.
As per my answer, those vacancies have now been filled. So we have recruited effective staff to the team, and I'm confident that they'll be able to fulfil the role required and that the use of agency staff for those roles is now reduced. So I've given the reason in relation to those, because we did have a number of vacancies. I think when we incur vacancies, we want to continue the service to our community, and therefore agency staff were utilised. In terms of the ongoing effectiveness of this borough, I think that's a question to be considered, and a written answer would be provided to you. What I would highlight is that the salaries make up the largest part of the service we deliver as a borough council, and our total salaries bill is over 8 million a year. So the use of those agency staff during 23-24 constituted only 8% of the total salaries budget, and therefore I didn't see it as an immediate risk. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cox.
So I did ask a question. Could we confirm that the agency budget will reduce for 24-25 and we won't see another increase?
Okay.
As the question didn't pertain to the costs this year, I would have to provide a written answer in relation to that. Thank you.
I'd like to invite Councillor Gordon to ask the 7th question, please.
Yes, thank you. I have concerns as to whether Parkside is the best location for a second surgery in Melton Mowbray, since there is a possibility of security breaches by patients, along with the possibility of infection of council staff who come into contact with patients, especially for council staff that have to use the one and only lift. Does the leader agree that St Mary's Hospital would be ideally suited as a location for a second surgery, as it also has a physiotherapy department, X-ray machines, and carries out blood tests?
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. And I'll invite the leader, Councillor Ornett, to provide a response.
Mr Mayor, I thank Councillor Gordon for her common sense question. And with respect just to the question, frankly, I could not agree with you more. I remember some 3 or 4 years ago, our colleague, Councillor Alan Hewson, making just that same point. And as you know, Councillor Helen Cliff was very active in trying to retain the birthing centre on the same site. Unfortunately, ever since the NHS was fragmented into trading trusts, the whole organisation operates in silos with separate agendas and separate parameters, and this includes NHS property. Now, regarding the suitability of St Mary's Hospital as a site for a second GP surgery, ultimately the choice is not ours about where to locate the GP practice. It's really a matter for our health partners, and their preferred option, having had a long dialogue with them, is to work with us on co-location at Parkside, which we are happy to continue to explore with them along the lines that I outlined in answer to Councillor Orson's questions. The council under the previous administration and this one has simply been trying to assist the ICB to find a suitable and viable location. Discussions have been ongoing for some time with health partners regarding the most appropriate location for a second GP surgery. Some of Councillor Gordon's points appear to be more about issues regarding the co-location with the council rather than the geographical location of a second surgery. And on that basis, I make the following points. Co-location with partner organisations is not new. Any such arrangement will require agreement on the specific arrangements and protocols in place to enable partners to coexist. Changes to the Parkside building would be required to accommodate a second GP surgery. And as you'd expect, discussions are ongoing about the best configuration to meet the needs of partner organisations, customers and patients. Now, this would include plans regarding the layout and accessibility of the building, and to answer your point, the security and the health and safety. And of course, we will ensure that Councillor Gordon's points are considered as part of the project. And may I just conclude, Mr. Mayor, rounding up the three questions, if I may, on the doctor's surgery. There is no doubt that we want to get this in our town. It's desperately needed. We have seen in the past how it was announced that the deal was done, whereas in fact it was not done. And in answer to emails to the ICB before I was on the council, they confirmed that no agreement had been reached. There have been a lot of kite flying and a lot of premature announcements, and I am determined as leader of this council to do it right and to get the right answer in the long run for the benefit of the whole community, and not to engage in party politics and making silly statements. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Allnutt. Councillor Gordon, if you wish, you may also put one supplementary question in accordance with the procedure rules. May I remind you that the supplementary question must arise directly out of the original question or the reply. Councillor Gordon.
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you, Leader. That was I can put it. It's a good answer, and I understand it a lot better now. You understand why they want to come here. But could the Leader ask those persons involved in the NHS about, if there is another pandemic, what it would mean for the offices at Melton Borough Council? What it would mean to do with would we have to vacate? You know, and I'll leave that with you if it's chosen for the second surgery.
Councillor Allnutt.
Well,
Is that a question?
Yeah, well, it's a good question, and I think that's a question that is universal across the whole country. It has been said frequently of late that we are not ready as a nation for the next pandemic, and we are going to sleep on it. But that is above my pay grade and outside the scope of this borough. But I think it's a very reasonable question.
Thank you, Councillor Allnutt. Before we leave this item, I'd like to echo Councillor Joe Orson's comments about tidying up this section. I think you're getting 7 questions the last 2 meetings, and I think if we do something about it, Councillor Orson?
Yeah, I'm certainly willing to have a conversation with Councillor Allnutt and you, Mr. Mayor, obviously as a civic leader on this one, on what I believe is an opportunity to smarten up this section. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Orson. We're now going to move on to the motion. Let Councillor Brown leave the chambers. There is one motion on notice to hear this evening. The motion is regarding the 80th anniversary of Operation Market Garden. I now invite Councillor Higgins to propose and outline the motion. The mover of an on-notice motion may speak for 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. That is dangerous. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you also for your comments before the meeting started about meeting the 4 para and their cycle around the borough. The 80th anniversary of Operation Market Garden, from the 17th to the 25th of September 1944, Operation Market Garden took place in the German-occupied Netherlands. And today we mark the 80th anniversary, but also pay tribute to those who were involved in the operation, many of whom were based in the borough. I'd like to also add to pay tribute to the communities that hosted them. There are many stories that reverberate around the borough, and sadly, many of the veterans are all too far gone now. The 10th Battalion was centred in the village of Somerby, Thorpe Satchel, Borough on the Hill, and the 11th Battalion was billeted in and around Melton Mowbray, as was the 156th Battalion with their HQ at Staveley Lodge, now the Pera Business Park, with its 4 companies spread between Newport Lodge, Scorford Hall and the Spinney. I know a gentleman called Brian Fair, who is at the Royal Air Force Association, but is also a local historian, and he's been doing recent talks about that, and I encourage anyone to go on that. Market Garden's objective was to create a 64-mile salient into German territory with a bridgehead over the lower Rhine River, creating an Allied invasion route through to northern Germany. It was hopefully to shorten the war and liberate Europe. However, what we do know is it was a bridge too far, and how much Europe would have changed had this operation been 100% successful. The airborne soldiers, numbering more than 41,000, were dropped at sites that they could capture key bridges and hold the terrain until the land forces arrived. The land forces consisted of 10 armoured and motorised brigades and had a similar number of soldiers. A couple of weekends ago, the Friends of the 10th hosted their annual commemoration at Borough on the Hill, which is the 10th Battalion Parachute Regiment Memorial. We were meant to also have the Red Devils to parachute drop, but we were also honoured with unveiling a memorial for the 350th Troop Carrier Group by the United States Air Force, and they were in attendance, along with a lady who flew from America, Laura Briggs, and paid tribute to her grandfather and brought a lot of mementos over. At this, we also, the author Graham Warner unveiled his book, Arnhem: 8 Days to Oblivion, and I thoroughly recommend anybody reading that will read the first accounts of those soldiers who fought in Operation Market Garden. It is not always easy reading, but also being parachute regiment members, there's a little bit of humour in there. Going on to that, a gentleman who used to visit Twyford every year, Sergeant Tex Banwell, his full name, Keith Deemer Banwell, British Empire Medal. He used to come and meet his friend Jack Fawcett, who was also served in the parachute regiment and lived in Twyford with his wife Nora. Tex would tell you many, many stories. He was a political decoy for Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery and very much did look like him. He was just a little bit too tall. He was wounded and captured and escaped after Market Garden, and then worked for the Dutch resistance, securing honours by the Dutch government for his work behind enemy lines. He was eventually captured again and tortured by the Gestapo and sent to Auschwitz. Luckily, he was liberated by the Red Army in 1945. Tex would parachute out, and raise money for armed forces welfare charities all the way through into his 80s. He's sadly no longer here, but if he's up there looking down, I wish him well, because the stories he would tell was just memorable. And everybody always says Tex always could tell a good story. Whether they were all true, I don't know. That all said, I just wanted to add probably the better words than I could ever do it credit here. There was an ode to Market Garden by Sam Rubins. And I'll just read it out. Close your eyes for a moment and think way back of the Sunday that Arnhem bonds should crack, remembering the soldiers, those loyal men all, fighting for Arnhem where many would fall. Now open your eyes and scan the sky, where they came down like birds from on high, those red berets so courageous without fear, who strive for Arnhem and paid so dear. Close your eyes once more and remember your gains. For our bright world they went to great pains. Let us all realise we're still free today, because they brought us freedom, they pointed the way. Just fold your hands now for Britons and Poles, beneath their white crosses, and pray for their souls. When your prayer is over, keep the memory alight. Our city still lives because they did us right. So just to close the motion, today the village of Somerby hosts an annual parade commemorating those who fought so bravely 80 years ago. And I also recommend anybody to go to the magnificent memorial, which I was on record to say was a jewel in the crown for the Somerby ward, which is on Borough on the Hill. But I would like the council to join me for the following parts of the motion. And with your permission, Mr. Mayor, I will point 5. I think is a great bond of friendship between the Borough of Melton and the people of the Netherlands, but also the people of Arnhem itself. That this motion, the council pays tribute and thanks to those who made great sacrifice and fought in Arnhem and the wide Operation Market Garden. Thanks historians, local and national, along with individuals and communities who not only detailed the history of the Battle of Arnhem, but equally importantly, how the Melton Borough community remember those stationed here. Acknowledges the great work the Friends of the 10th and the Parachute Regimental Association do and will continue to do within the Melton Borough and Arnhem. Thanks the village of Somerby for hosting their annual remembrance event and invites the Mayor and all councillors to write collectively to the Mayor of Arnhem and the Kingdom of the Netherlands Ambassador to the United Kingdom to express our continued unwavering friendship between the people of the Borough of Melton and Arnhem in remembering the sacrifice by those 80 years ago in the cause of freedom. And on that latter point, it is not just those who were in military uniform, it's also the civilians and those in the Dutch resistance who fought so bravely 80 years ago. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Higgins. Very precise. Thank you very much. I'd like to invite Councillor Allnutt to second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't propose to say much. Simply thank Councillor Higgins for the privilege of supporting the motion. I'm sure that, like myself, we've all got links with the past, and I don't intend to unpack those now. But I think the whole tenor of the motion is superb, and I'm very grateful to be part of that, and indeed to welcome our two cyclists with you yesterday. Thank you. I so second.
Thank you, Councillor Allnutt. I'll now open this item to debate and invite members to raise their hands to indicate whether they wish to speak. Please note that any speeches must not exceed 5 minutes. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not standing to propose an amendment to the motion, but I'm reminded in the comments that Councillor Higgins made in his closing remarks about the heroic actions of Dutch civilians and others, as well as the airborne forces. The Market Garden was actually an operation that was not just British, it was international. And of the 4 brigades that actually parachuted into the Arnhem part of the operation, 1 was Polish. And I just wanted to mention that. I think it's inherent in the motion that it talks about all those who bravely sacrificed themselves. The Polish brigade, which was delayed in arriving, actually lost a huge number of its men trying to cross the Rhine to support the British in Arnhem. And I think it's right that they should be mentioned in any consideration of this. Thank you.
Councillor Brown. Any other councillor like to say any words? No? Okay, I can confirm no other members wish to speak. We will now proceed to a vote. Please use the electronic voting system in front of you to choose either for, against or abstain. It's unanimous in the room. The motion is carried. And I'm sure we can get together and put some sort of letter together from myself and the officers. Thank you. Councillor Brown, come back in. I think is Helen has gone to get him. Just wait for Councillor Brown before we go on to the next item on the agenda. Thank you. Right, item 9, the urgent item, using the provision as set out in the Constitution under Chapter 3, Part 1 of Procedural Rule 16. I've allowed an urgent report to be tabled this evening. This report is about a councillor leave of absence. I now invite the Chief Exec, Ed de Coverley, to present the report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council will be aware that under Section 85 of the Local Government Act, should any member fail to attend any council meeting for a period of 6 months, then that member would automatically cease to be a councillor. Councillor Chris Evans last attended a meeting on the 16th of May 2024 and is currently absent due to a period of medical leave. He is advised that he remains unable to attend council meetings at this time and is at risk of being unable to do so prior to the end of the 6-month period, i.e. before the 17th of November 2024. Under the provisions of the legislation, full council is able to grant a dispensation for this requirement, and this meeting represents the last ordinary council meeting scheduled before that November date. Accordingly, having consulted with Councillor Evans, the Mayor, the Leader of the Council and Leader of the Opposition, this report before you this evening sets out the Council, the option that the Council has to provide that aforementioned dispensation and thereby extend the time permitted for the absence by a further period of 6 months, up to and including the 16th of May 2025. The requirements and implications of this option are set out in the report before you and a potential recommendation set out in section 2.1. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Chief Exec, do we have a proposer? Councillor Ornett. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Brown.
Yeah, happy to second.
I will now open this item to debate and invite members to raise their hand to indicate whether they wish to speak.
Mr. Mayor, it is unfortunate that because of the falling of the dates of meetings that we've had to rush this, as it were. It's not the best way of doing it, I accept. But in the past, councillors have been granted this leave of absence due to personal circumstances. And I think it would be churlish tonight not to do so and hope that he can report to us in due course of his intention to return. I think that would be the right thing. One doesn't like to personalise these matters. You know, it's not a political thing, really. I know that the ward he represents has got 2 councillors, so they're not completely bereft of representation. And may I say, if any body living in that ward has a serious problem which they feel is not being attended to, they are very welcome to contact my office through through the Chief Executive, so that they are not forgotten. So I think we should bend a little bit on the side of sympathy on this occasion, but let's see what happens in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ornett. I think Councillor Higgins.
Councillor Ornett pretty much answered the question, but I know some members have raised this offline, and I raised it with officers just before. And this is of no way on individuals or, as the leader said, political as such. But obviously, having a paper at the very, very last moment has made it very difficult. So where members may have wanted to ask either for more information or questions, just for clarity, it would probably save anyone in the future who may need this dispensation any embarrassment or anything like that. But I concur. Is it either illness or unfortune can hit any of us at any time, and we need to consider that. Just to add, and I think some members have been contacted. There are some members of the public who have raised this, and I think from what Councillor Ornett was saying, I think there's been some listening as well. But we've got to make sure that there isn't a democratic deficit, and Councillor Simon Orson is also the other member there for residents to go to. And if there is anything, I think the leader of the council has also very well offered his office's support to residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Higgins. Any other members wish to say anything? Councillor Cumbers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just again for clarification, really, could it be less than 6 months? Could it be 3 months rather than 6 months? I mean, is that a possibility? Just thinking about if he is thinking about leaving, it might be good, perhaps, if there's a by-election before the next AGM.
It's the Chief Exec to answer your question, Councillor Cumbers.
Yeah, the discretion resides with the council, so it is for the council to decide what level of dispensation, if it's so minded to do so, it would wish to grant. That would require an amendment to the motion. Obviously, the motion as written at the moment builds in a level of flexibility, I should say, in relation to at this stage not being clear on when Councillor Evans would be able to render himself back to effective duty. So at the moment, there's sufficient flexibility to hopefully allow him to return, in advance of that date. But this gives sufficient time until May, as currently written. But it is for council, and a member would need to move an amendment should you wish to choose or change that date.
Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, I think 6 months, to be honest, because if he has got some sort of illness or whatever it is that stopping him from coming, I think it would be a good enough reason, because I know he enjoys being a councillor, and I think give him 6 months, and then he's got that range of time to recover or whatever it is that's ailing him, and I think it's a fair amount of time for him. So I reckon 6 months. Yeah.
Councillor Gordon. Any other member like to say any words? If not, I confirm no members wish to speak. We shall now proceed to a vote. Please use the electronic voting system in front of you to either for, against, or abstain. That's unanimous. Thank you, members. I think Councillor Alston's going to leave the room at this stage. On to item 10. Let's let Councillor Alston leave the room. I will now invite the leader, Councillor Allnutt, to present a local plan regulation 19 consultation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I formally move the recommendation on agenda item 9, paragraphs 2.2, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, which appears on page 22 of the order paper. This report seeks to gain members of approval for the start of the second local plan update consultation. This is generally known as Regulation 19. The consultation, when launched, will be the second opportunity for the public to make formal representations in relation to the pre-submission local plan, and more specifically, the policies that are being updated as part of the partial local plan update. This will mean that it is a more technical consultation than the previous issues and options consultation, which took place over the winter of 2023-24. The consultation also include the publication of a sustainability appraisal, including a habitat regulations assessment, an updated policies map, an equalities impact assessment, a duty to cooperate compliance statement, and a consultation statement showing how we have considered the representations we have received during the issues and options consultation previously. Similarly to the last public consultation, this will be a formal consultation and will last for a minimum of 6 weeks. All stakeholders will then have the opportunity to make comments on this, which we will take into account when moving forward towards the examination stage. Tonight, members are being asked to delegate authority to approve the commencement of the consultation on the pre-submission local plan update to the portfolio holder. That would be Councillor Glancy, once the documents have been finalised within the working group. Now, this is expected to be before the end of the year, and in any case within 1 month of the publication of the new revised National Planning Policy Framework, of which more later. This is the deadline set by the government, and at present, this is the deadline set by the government at present for the transitional arrangements. The timing of the consultation is also subject to evidence production and for the council to find an appropriate way forward to accommodate the recommendations of the evidence. Tonight, members are asked to note the importance of proceeding to the Regulation 19 consultation on the pre-submission local plan update. This is because of the uncertainty and the pressure that has been caused by the presentation consultation on the revised National Planning Policy Framework, which was announced after the general election, of course. If the council is not able to progress to Regulation 19 within or before 1 month, and I repeat that, within or before 1 month of the new MPPF being published, the date of which is not yet known, we will need to start again at what's called Regulation 18 for a new local plan. Members will recall approving the regulation, or at least some members will recall approving the Regulation 18 consultation this time last year. And the team have undertaken a substantial amount of work in the meantime to progress the update of the plan. If we need to go back to Regulation 18, we will need then to use new higher housing targets, set a new long plan date and commission. That must have been mistyped. Certainly a longer plan date and commission, further evidence and significant expense to this council. I'm therefore proposing that the report and its recommendations are approved by council. And I would add that members will not be surprised to know that along with other councils, we are lobbying the government with respect to the timetable because it's quite tight. And I want to pay another tribute to our staff for pulling all the stops out on this one at a time when they are dealing with so much else, including local appeal inquiries and a very busy schedule of work within the planning department. So thank you very much. But I have moved and I look for a seconder.
Thank you for your presentation, Councillor Ornett. I'll take your proposer, and do I have a seconder? Councillor Cumbers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cumbers. I'll now open this item to debate and invite members to raise their hand to indicate whether they wish to speak. Councillor Higgins.
Yeah, just very quickly, Councillor Galanzi is away, as we know, and given her apologies, she chairs the working group, but has asked me if I could pass on her gratitude and thanks to the team and all in the working group for the very hard work done on the local plan review. And obviously, I will be voting for the recommendation as well. So thank you very much.
Councillor Higgins. Any other member wish to speak? Councillor Brown.
Yeah, just to say this has got full support of the Conservative group.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Any other members? I can confirm that speak. So we will now proceed to a vote. Again, please use the electronic voting system in front of you to choose either for, against, or abstain. Against, unanimous, and it's carried. Thank you, fellow councillors. That concludes the meeting at 7:47. Thank you.
Members, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Mayor of the Borough of Melton, Councillor Tim Webster.